Good afternoon or good day, depending on which part of the world or time zone you are. Welcome to the third in the series of seminars, now webinar to celebrate Nigeria's National Day anniversary, the 61st this year. I am Fola Shoboyejo, Executive Director of the Shoboyejo Turning Point Charity Foundation. In collaboration with the Association of Nigerians in Lethbridge and the Southern Alberta Ethnic Association, you are welcome to this seminar. For some, there may not be information or awareness of the activities of the Shoboyejo Foundation. Our mission is simple: to promote and work on educational development and community development. To this end, with the grace of God and the support of people from especially Lethbridge churches and in different parts of the world, we have support. Even in Nigeria, we have completed the reconstruction of a school, the Engr School in Ifo local government of Ogun State, Nigeria. 3 classrooms, a computer laboratory, toilet building, all with ceramic flooring and aluminum roofing. We have also done 2 seminars in the past. One on immigration and global migration from history to now and going to the future. We also held a seminar in 2019 on the topic of development and democracy. Borrowed from the developed countries, will the model work in developing countries? So this is the third one. We didn't have one last year due to COVID, and we hope you will enjoy it. And for the future, our project is a women and youth center to promote after-school activities instead of kids running into trouble, running around the village and having conflicts with their parents. We are dreaming of a youth and women center where women too can acquire skills in literacy, crafts, and work with the kids on painting, drawing, sculpting, weaving, braiding, fashion designing, haircuts, crafts and welding, small crafts items, and woodwork. And because of the connection of Ogun town to the Adubi War in the 20s, about a century ago, whereby when the war theater was very hot and the conflict was very devastating, the people that escaped from that conflict found refuge in Ogun town. And from our knowledge, based on our knowledge and available information to us, Adubi, the freedom fighter who led the struggle, is remembered in books and stories about the war, Adubi War, but he has not been memorialized. There's no cenotaph to his memory and things like that. So we have space in the lot after developing the Women and Youth Center to have Adubi Heroes Museum built in the place. We also have plans for internet radio where children can express themselves and people can interact on the internet, radio, and learn and teach, and do have all kind of information, local and so forth, about commodities, market days, and local sports and things like that. That is our dream for the future. And even now, before we formally launch the project, we have, contributions already coming in. So this is an opportunity for partnership and for support. Thank you and welcome to the third in the series of our webinars and seminars. And the title is Fake News, Disinformation, Belief Systems, and Truth. Perspectives on navigating a polarized world for peace, development, and happiness. We will have fun today because we are very great speakers. Thank you and welcome.
Welcome, Engineer Titi to this seminar, webinar, and I'm proud to be the one to present his bio. Engineer Titi as an understatement to say he has come a long way in community service and professional hearing association, promotion, and contribution. Engineer Titi has a bachelor's degree in electronic communication engineering from the University of Lagos. A fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. He's a fellow of the Telecommunication Executive Management Institute of Canada. He's a member of the Association of Consulting Engineers of Nigeria and a member of the Nigerian Institute of Management. He has played a lot of roles in the industry in Nigeria. He was team leader of the counterpart staff to the World Bank funded Lagos Network Diagnostics in 1988. He retired from public service into private practice in 1990. He was managing partner, Telecom Answers Associates, 1991 to 2000. Currently, Chief Executive Officer of the Executive Cyber School, Lagos. Member of the Council of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, past Director, Ogun State Broadcasting Corporation, Board of Directors. Published among his publications, Options for Affordable Internet Services in Developing Economies. Current Council of Registered Engineers in Nigeria and the World Federation of Engineering Organization. He made a presentation for. A paper he wrote also is Interconnection and Pricing, ensuring that internet service providers do not lose out. He's not just an advocate for the users or consumers. He's a balanced person, so he also recognizes the challenges, especially in a developing country like Nigeria, the internet service providers have. He wrote a conference paper for the African Telecommunications Summit in Accra, Ghana, in March 2001. For many years, served as a consultant to the Nigerian Communications Commission, the communication regulator in Nigeria. So when we are talking about regulating, internet, social media, and so forth, he has an eye in that area too, and he has some experience to share with us. Titi is an active blogger on social and development subjects. He is a director of the advisory board of the Shoboyejo Turning Point Charity Foundation. Welcome, Engineer Titi Ettu. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me prepare my slide. First of all, I want to thank Engineer Shoboyejo for inviting me to do this short speech. Engineer Shoboyejo was chairman of my branch of the Lagos branch. We call that branch. In the house, I also see another former chairman of that branch, Engineer Michael Lawal. I welcome you, sir, my former chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Also in the house, I see a distinguished fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering, Engineer Professor Bello Adisa. You are also welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. My subject, I want to welcome every participant. My subject is to talk about technology and regulatory perspectives on fake news, misinformation, belief system, and truth. Quite honestly, if you ask me, for me, I am hoping that this evening, well, I'm speaking from Nigeria, this is my evening here, so I will say good evening to everybody. For me, fake news also means misinformation. I say this because both of them mean all forms of false, inaccurate, or misleading information designed, presented, and promoted to intentionally cause public harm or for profit. If you take this definition, I will have to say the same for both fake news and misinformation. As a matter of fact, when I did my search, I found out that fake news is a word that is commonly used in America, while in Europe, misinformation is the popular word they have adopted. If there is anybody who popularized the word fake news, I think it was former President Donald Trump. But this evening, my interest is to talk about the news that is tampered with to give another meaning or impression. Incidentally, because it is usually done with a motive, it generally offends somebody somewhere. Yes, that is what makes it bad. And for that reason, it must be discouraged. My take is that social media companies already have very good ways. Maybe a lot of them inadequate yet. Maybe some are still substandard, but they certainly have many ways to confront the evil effects of fake news. I have paid attention to government's, government's idea about fake news. Because we already know that those who run failing governments all over the world are increasingly getting uncomfortable with negative use of information, especially as it relates to the passing of judgment on the quality of governance they give. In their own case, it does not have to be fake news to hurt them. It only needs to paint their performance in bad light. Then they use fake news charges to vent their anger. I think we have to be very careful here. Fake news, it's not an issue against governance. It's not an issue against government. It's an issue against all of us. In some countries, as we talk now, the same social media which some governments used in getting votes when they were running the election is now being considered as either as enemy of those in power or enemy of those at the head of government or enemy of party that is in power. But the truth really is that at the core of ruling parties' problem might be their inability to use the goodwill they got from those who brought them into power, the votes of those who brought them into power. I want to talk about technology and regulation together. If it were competition, I will vote for technology, although without undermining regulation. Both issues are very wide to discuss, I appreciate. Technology helps us to do things faster, to do things bigger, to do things neater, and indeed to do things cheaper. So we are about to discuss a subject that is rooted in emerging technologies, especially of artificial intelligence and machine language. Unfortunately, I do not have even very low level information, let alone substantial knowledge about those stuffs. However, if you ask me, I may tell you that it may not be that fake news are emerging more viciously than they had always been. The issue may be the advanced speed at which they can now spread and the relative cheaper access to means of sharing individual thoughts and expressions, which constitute the real issues that make fake news the monster we have accepted it to be. There is a choice we must make. I want to discuss both technology and regulation pari passu. This is because while I see a lot to discuss in using technology to confront the widespread of fake news, very little or relatively is available to advance on regulation. Unfortunately, instead of opting for technology, government officials in many, many countries usually opt to think that legislation is their choice, and they continue to miss the point. My view is that the laws as they are, especially in my own country, although I'm not a lawyer, but I will be surprised if those who know law tell us that there are not enough in current legislation to deal with the purveyors of misinformation or fake news once they have been identified. My advice to those in authority is that they should rely more on technology to help out rather than bothering their head in pushing legislation to find solutions. I say this because technology moves and works faster than legislation in its process to apply solutions, especially in this subject that we are discussing. I am saying that for technology to help us detect fake news is a subject for artificial intelligence. And I think that is the principle on which the idea of using technology is going to be fundamentally based. I was saying that as early as 20 years ago, I wrote a paper where I said my pen is the Blackburn model in a paper. And my paper was flagged, and it was returned to me. And when we checked, we found out that that statement, my pen is the Blackburn model, the pen and the is was seen by a detector to be penis. And it was one of the words that they found offending. And I mean, that is the beginning of how we can track offending information. And I am told that as we speak, there are many issues that artificial intelligence can, support to help us identify what is fake in information. The issues that we will want to identify, for which I expect to find solutions, are as follows. First of all, we have to get all of us to wage a war against fake news by making sure that we stop sharing once it is identified. Therefore, the idea, first of all, is for us to use technology to identify which information is fake. Once we identify which information is fake, we then have to realize that we human beings who are behind reading and generating and sharing this information, we should, having been advised by technology that an information is fake, we should stop sharing. Of course, I know there are substandard platform regulation on many platforms. And I also know that there are unreasonable trusts that people have in fellow platform users. I mean, when people think that because somebody is his colleague or somebody he knows, whatever information he publishes must be correct. Technology will help us better. I also know that because of increasing poverty in the land, there are very many people whose means of livelihood is to share fake news and to profit from it. My suggestion is that technology must be relied on more than legislation, and it must be used to support the awareness of readers that what they read could be misleading, if not outrightly falsehood or outright falsehood. I have it on good authority that artificial intelligence is already advanced enough to trace the source of offending content. And this can be used to create accurate alerts and flagging ideas for material that pass through social media company platforms. That, to me, defines what we mean by the primary core of a technological solution. I want to give a warning, a call for caution. Artificial intelligence as an enabling science to combat fake news is really what is in itself also a tool that you can use to spread fake news. For example, in my own language, there is something we say in Yoruba language, we say epe, la fin wo epe, you see? And that, if technology is what we can use to find fake news, it is also technology itself that is helping fake news to thrive. So that calls for caution. My understanding is that as we speak, natural language processing is one of the current technologies that are being used to identify fake news after it has been created by looking at the nature and tone of the content. The idea here is to research into how many of such solutions already exist and to say they do exist. The other point to make is that technology as a solution is a case of human/computer symbiosis, in which we use computing power to detect and eliminate sources of information, sources of fake news, and then rely on well-informed people to spread the word, blacklist and ignore or punish the worst purveyors of falsehood. I'm asking that we elevate the thinking capacity of our people. Let us guide them to question every information and avoid reusing an information if it is not found positive to development. When we use technology to help us in doing this, it is what I call the technology as solution, far beyond legislation. I will conclude by saying that fake news, which also means misinformation, is real. It is an enemy of society, and it should be confronted. I advise, however, that the way to confront it is to encourage citizens to do the confrontation rather than relying on regulation. Use technology to detect and use legislation to punish offenders. Lastly, caution is advised in dealing on the matter, since technology, which is the preferred solution, could also be a tool for spreading fake news. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moiti. Sorry, Engineer Omoetu. And I feel like I observed a question in the chat box, right? Yeah. So I'm wondering if we can have someone.
Okay, well, we have a couple questions on the chat box, Engineer. Thank you very much. The first question is, who gets to decide what technology flags as fake news? Who gets to decide what technology flags as fake news?
Over to you, sir.
Would you want me to take all the questions so that you can address them all at once?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so we can just go ahead and.
Yes. The second question is, what are the criteria for defining fake news or misinformation? Tabloid, propaganda, editorials, or perhaps generalization? And the last question is, how do we make sure that authorities don't use this technology to only allow the spreading of information that pushes their agenda? How does the human right of free speech fit into censorship? Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. So if you're able to just respond, say in 1 minute, that would be so much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. who decides what is to be flagged can actually be done by science and technology. What I mean is that in artificial intelligence science, in science of artificial intelligence, there are various, words and tones that I believe that those who are experts in that field are putting together as we speak now. And from a combination of those words, they can decide what is to be flagged. The authorities, for me, I started by saying that many of them, you don't have to do a fake news for them to be hot. And we have to all come together. If we all fight fake news in the manner that I have described earlier, I think we will have almost stopped government from using the issue of fake news to almost bar us from expressing public opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.